Machu Picchu, one of those mysterious sites of the old world, high up in the ancient mountains. It continues to captivate all of those who lay eyes upon it. But how did this place come about? How was it lost? And how did we go about finding it again? These questions, and a few more, we will answer today. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, it's good to have you. And if you're coming back, it's good to see you again. If you like this sort of content and you wish to support the channel, check out my Patreon. Or just like, comment and subscribe to help YouTube push this out to a broader audience. Without any further ado, let's get on to the video for today. A little bit about Machu Picchu. In Quechua language, Machu signifies aged or elderly, while Pichu carries diverse connotations, including pyramid, sharp, multi-sided, solid, or cone, and even refers to a portion of a coca chewed for its stimulant effects. As a result, the name Machu Picchu has been interpreted loosely to mean ancient mountain, due to the combination of these terms. Positioned on a narrow ridge between two peaks, Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu, both of the sites hold a mysterious allure. But you know, there's a lot in a name. A more recent study, published in the Journal of the Institute of Andean Studies, proposes an alternative naming convention. According to this research, the abandoned Inca settlement was initially dubbed Huayna Picchu, derived from the smaller peak nearby, or possibly just simply Pichu. In Quechua, Huayna translates to young. The study suggests that the name Machu Picchu only gained prominence following the publications of Hiram Bingham, an American historian and explorer, in 1911. And don't worry, we'll get back to him later. Evidence from indigenous Quechua speakers, early cartography, and interactions with Bingham himself supports the notion that Machu Picchu was a name arbitrarily bestowed by Bingham and diverged from the traditional designation used by the local inhabitants of the area. Despite these revelations, the original name bestowed upon the deserted settlement by its creators remains still a mystery to its researchers. Machu Picchu was traditionally thought to have been constructed in the 1450s. However, with our more recent technology, including radiocarbon dating techniques, suggests that Machu Picchu might have been inhabited between approximately 1420 and 1530 AD. Now this time frame aligns with the reigns of two very significant Inca rulers, Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui, and sorry if my Incan pronunciation is not good. He ruled from 1438 to 71, and Tupac Inca Yupanqui, 1472 to 1493. Now these days, with all of our current information, archaeologists have a general agreement that Pachacuti commissioned the construction of Machu Picchu as a royal estate, likely as a retreat following a victorious military campaign. Although considered a royal estate, Machu Picchu was not passed down through the line of succession. Instead, it was utilized for about 80 years before being abandoned, seemingly due to the onset of Spanish conquests in other regions of the Incan Empire. It's also plausible that many of its inhabitants unfortunately succumbed to smallpox, a introduction from travelers before the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the area. During its time as an estate, it's estimated that around 750 individuals resided at the site, primarily serving as support staff known as llanas, who lived there on a permanent basis. While the estate belonged to Pachacuti, it also housed religious specialists and temporary workers known as mayoks, likely present to ensure the ruler's comfort and well-being. During the harsher seasons, the staff was reduced to approximately 100 servants, and a small number of religious specialists focused solely on maintenance tasks. Analysis of skeletal remains suggests that the inhabitants of Machu Picchu were immigrants from rather diverse backgrounds, diverse being around the Mesoamerican area. But they were not lifelong residents. No one was really born and dying in Machu Picchu itself. Their skeletal remains lacked certain chemical and osteological markers typical of individuals who had spent their entire lives in a single location. Instead, evidence of bone damage from various species of water parasites native to different regions of Peru was found. Well, this is all the proof that a lot of people need to suggest that these people were from these regions, as you cannot find these parasites in any other areas. One must remember that South America is very biologically diverse, and one mountain's parasite may not exist on the mountain you can see from the other side. Indeed, the rivers are about the same. Moving on. Additionally, osteological stress indicators and variations in chemical densities suggested long-term diets characteristics of specific regions, including varying levels of maize, potatoes, grains, legumes, and fish. However, the last known short-term diet of these individuals consisted of less fish and more corn. This suggests that many immigrants came from coastal areas where corn was a staple food. Interestingly, skeletal remains discovered at the site exhibited lower levels of arthritis and bone fractures compared to other sites in the Incan Empire. Typically, Inca individuals with arthritis and fractures were those engaged in heavy physical labor, or those serving in the Inca military. And there was plenty of physical labor to go around, especially when you look at the construction, not just of places like Machu Picchu, but any other Incan settlements. There was certainly plenty of heavy physical labor to do. Now, there is evidence to suggest that animals also migrated to Machu Picchu, as several bones not native to the area have been discovered. Among these, the most prominent were bones from llamas and alpacas. These animals typically inhabit altitudes of 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet, much higher than the 2,400 meters, 7,900 feet, elevation of Machu Picchu. It is likely that these animals were brought from the Puna region for both meat consumption and their pelts. Additionally, guinea pigs were found at the site, particularly in special tomb caves. This suggests that they may have been utilized in funerary rituals, as it was common practice throughout the Inca Empire to use guinea pigs for sacrifices and meat. Furthermore, 6 remains of dogs were recovered from the site. Their placement among the human remains indicates that they likely served as close companions to the deceased. Much of the agricultural activity at Machu Picchu was carried out on its extensive system of man-made terraces, a marvel to see. These terraces, a remarkable feat of engineering, were meticulously constructed to ensure proper drainage, soil fertility, and to safeguard the mountain against erosion and landslides. Now, despite the ingenuity of these terraces, studies of the landscape reveal evidence of landslides occurring during Machu Picchu's construction. Some areas still bear marks of terraces that were shifted by landslides and subsequently stabilized by the Inca as they continued to develop the site. The terraces themselves, strategically positioned overlooking the Urubamba River and numerous springs, provided essential fresh water for crop cultivation and supported more than 1,000 households. However, the total area of terrace farming only amounted to around 4.9 hectares, about 12 acres. Soil analysis conducted around the terraces indicated that the primary crops grown were corn and potatoes, which were insufficient, of course, to sustain a population of over 750 individuals who were residing at Machu Picchu on a semi-permanent basis. This led researchers to conclude that much of the food consumed at the site was likely imported from surrounding valleys and beyond. Despite the high annual rainfall of 71 inches since AD 1450, which theoretically provided ample moisture for crop growth, irrigation was not typically required for the terraces. Incan engineers designed the terraces to facilitate effective drainage of excess water, given the abundance of rainfall. Excavations and soil analyses conducted by Kenneth Wright in the 1990s revealed that the terraces were constructed in layers. The bottom layer consisted of large stones, followed by loose gravel, and a layer of mixed sand and gravel compacted together. This was topped with a layer of nutrient-rich topsoil, likely transported from the valley floor to the terraces due to its superior quality compared to the soil higher up on the mountain. Limited information exists regarding the rumors of human sacrifices at Machu Picchu, although it is believed that many sacrificial victims were not afforded proper burials, and their skeletal remains deteriorated over time due to exposure to the elements. Nonetheless, the evidence that we do have suggests that some individuals, likely retainers, were sacrificed to accompany a deceased noble into the afterlife. Now, we can't have all the fun, right? In addition to human sacrifices, offerings of animals, liquids, and dirt were apparently more prevalent, and were typically made at the altar of the condor. This tradition is still observed by practitioners of the New Age Andean religion, although the specific timeline of its continuation is still a little unclear. Now, in the late 16th century, Spanish colonizers who had recently seized control of the region recorded indigenous accounts referring to the place called Pichu, believed to be the original name given to the site by the local inhabitants. Among these accounts, Spanish conquistador Baltasar de Ocampo documented a visit to a mountain fortress named Pitcos during the late 16th century. Ocampo described the site as adorned with sumptuous and majestic buildings, constructed with remarkable skill and artistry, featuring intricately carved marble lintels on both principal and ordinary doorways. As centuries passed, the dense jungle surrounding the area eventually began to reclaim the site, concealing it from the knowledge of those beyond its immediate vicinity. Now, it is believed that the site may have been discovered and looted in 1867 by a German entrepreneur named Augusto Burns. However, there is some indication that the German engineer J.M. von Hassel may have arrived at the site earlier. References to Machu Picchu began appearing on maps as early as 1874, with a 1904 atlas designating the site as Pichu. In 1911, American historian and explorer Hiram Bingham embarked on a journey through the region in search of the ancient Inca capital. Guided by a local villager named Melchor Arteaga, Bingham was led to the awe-inspiring site of Machu Picchu. During his exploration, Bingham stumbled upon a significant discovery: charcoal inscriptions on one of the walls of the Temple of the Three Windows, bearing the name Augustin Lizarraga and the date 1902. Initially, Bingham expressed disappointment at not being the first to uncover Machu Picchu, noting that Lizarraga's name in his pocket field journal and acknowledging him as the discoverer. However, as time passed, Bingham decided to gradually minimize Lizarraga's role in his accounts. In later writings, including his final work, The Lost City of the Incas in 1952, Bingham just decided to claim full credit for the discovery. Now, despite the controversy surrounding who really discovered it, Bingham's expeditions played a pivotal role in bringing Machu Picchu to international prominence. Following his initial visit, Bingham organized another expedition in 1912, focusing on extensive clearing and excavation efforts at the site. These endeavors contributed significantly to the scientific understanding and global recognition of the site. Bingham although not formally trained as an archaeologist, held a position as a lecturer at Yale University. In 1909, following his attendance at the Pan American Scientific Congress in Santiago, he embarked on his journey through Peru. During his trip, he received an invitation to explore those very ruins at the Apurimac Valley. So let's get into those details of how exactly he came across this site, because it's a little complicated. Motivated by the belief that the Inca capital lay within the vicinity of the city of Vitcos, Bingham organized the Yale Peruvian expedition of 1911. In his quest for the ancient capital, he sought guidance from Carlos Romero, a prominent historian who was based in Lima. Romero provided valuable references, including Father Antonio de la Calancha's Chronicle of the Augustinians. Drawing on his information, Bingham focused his search on areas mentioned in Calancha's accounts, particularly those along the Urubamba River. One crucial detail he sought was a location near a great white rock over a spring of fresh water, as described by Romero. Despite initial skepticism from the locals, including a statement by an earlier prospector about intriguing ruins at Machu Picchu, Bingham persisted in his quest. Only later did Bingham discover that Charles Vina had also heard of the ruins at Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu, but he had been unable to reach them. These encounters and insights only fueled Bingham's determination to uncover the lost city of the Incas, ultimately leading him to the remarkable discovery of Machu Picchu. With the guidance of local residents, and armed with the clues provided by Romero's reference, the expedition embarked on a journey down the Urubamba River in search of the site. Along the way, Bingham engaged with many of the local people he encountered, inquiring about any sites described as having a white rock near a spring. Eventually, their journey led them to Mandor Pampa, where they encountered farmer and innkeeper Melchor Arteaga. Bingham questioned Arteaga about the ruins nearby, and Arteaga mentioned the excellent ruins atop Huayna Picchu. The following day, on July 24th, Arteaga led Bingham and Sergeant Carrasco across the river on a log bridge up to the site. Upon reaching the mountaintop, they encountered a small hut occupied by Quechua individuals Richard and Alvarez, who were farming some of the original Machu Picchu agricultural terraces. Alvarez's 11-year-old son, Pablito, guided Bingham along the ridge to the main ruins. Much of the site at this point was heavily obscured by vegetation, although the cleared agricultural terraces and clearings utilized by farmers provided glimpses of the ancient structures. Hindered by the overgrowth, Bingham made some preliminary notes, measurements, photographs, highlighting the exceptional quality of the Inca stonework evident in several of the key buildings. Despite his observations, Bingham remained still uncertain about the ruins' original purpose, ultimately concluding that they did not match the description of Vitkos. Continuing their exploration, the expedition traveled down the Urubamba and up the Vilcabamba rivers, meticulously examining all the ruins they encountered. Guided by locals, Bingham successfully rediscovered and correctly identified the site of the old Inca capital, Vitkos, then called Rosaspata, along with the nearby temple of Chutripalta. Crossing a pass into the Pampaconas Valley, they encountered more ruins, heavily concealed by jungle overgrowth, at the Espiritu Pampa, which Bingham dubbed Trombone Pampa. However, much like Machu Picchu, the site was so densely overgrown that only a few of the buildings could be observed. In 1964, further exploration by Jean Savoy unveiled the full extent of the site, identifying it as Vilcabamba Viejo, the refuge of the Incas after their expulsion from Vitkos by the Spanish. Returning to Machu Picchu in 1912 under the sponsorship of the Yale University and National Geographic, and with the support of Peruvian President Luiguea, Bingham launched a 4-month clearing operation at the site with local labor, facilitated by the prefect of Cusco. Excavation commenced in 1912 and continued in 1914 and 15, focusing on Machu Picchu due to its remarkable Inca stonework and exceptional preservation. Despite various hypotheses, none of Bingham's exclamations for the site proved to be conclusive. Throughout his studies, he transported numerous artifacts back to Yale, including a set of 15th century ceremonial Incan knives crafted from bismuth bronze, the earliest known artifacts containing this alloy. While initially welcomed, Bingham and his team soon faced accusations of legal and cultural malpractice. Rumors circulated that they were pilfering artifacts and smuggling them out of Peru via Bolivia. Well, it's no wonder. That was pretty much the style of the time. In early 20th century and 19th century archaeology, it seemed to be all the rage. Well, Bingham's removal of the artifacts, however, in this case, was conducted openly and legally, following the 1852 Civil Code of Peru, which stated that archaeological finds generally belonged to the discoverer. He was acting completely within the law. Nonetheless, local press fueled the accusations, alleging that the excavation was damaging the site and depriving local archaeologists of their heritage. Landowners also began demanding rent from the excavators. By the time Bingham and his team departed Machu Picchu, local coalitions had formed to assert their ownership of the site and its cultural remnants, while Bingham advocated for the artifacts to be studied by experts in American institutions, of course. So, there's a few sites in Machu Picchu that I just want to talk about quickly, that are generally the must-sees if you go and visit it, which you should. The first one is the Temple of the Sun, located on a semicircular rock similar to Bingham's Royal Mausoleum, and it shares features with the Temple of the Sun in Cusco and the Temple of the Sun in Pisac, which are other sites related to the Incans. It has a parabolic enclosure wall and features very high-quality stonework, especially for the time, and it's high quality among the other stonework, so that's how you know it's good. Within the temple there is a smooth rock platform, with a small platform on its southwest quadrant. It induces two trapezoidal windows, the solstice window, aligning with the June solstice rising sun, and the Kulka window, offering views of specific constellations during the June solstice. The solstice window aligns closely with the rising sun, allowing for precise astronomical observations. The Kulka window provides a view of Inca constellations and stars, including the Pleiades and Canopus during this period. Overall, this temple showcases a very advanced astronomical knowledge and, of course, architectural skills that the Incans are known for, and it highlights their abilities to create structures aligned with celestial events and integrate astronomical observations into their own religious practices. Now the next one, called the Royal Feast of the Sun. Inti Mache holds special significance as a cave used for observing the Royal Feast of the Sun during the Incan month of Capac Rame. The festival, culminating on the December solstice, included rituals where noble boys were initiated into manhood by undergoing ear-piercing ceremonies while witnessing the sunrise from inside the cave. From an architectural standpoint, Inti Mache is revered as one of the most remarkable structures at Machu Picchu. Its entrances, walls, steps, and windows boast of some of the finest masonry craftsmanship in the Incan Empire, and that's saying something. Notably, the cave features a unique tunnel-like window. This is designed to admit sunlight only during specific days around the December solstice, rendering it inaccessible for much of the year. Positioned on the eastern side of Machu Picchu, just north of what is known as the Condor Stone, Inti Mache stands out among nearby caves, which were primarily used as tombs in prehistoric times. However, there isn't any evidence to suggest that Inti Mache itself served as a burial ground. At least, not yet. Okay, last one. The Inti Huatana stone is part of a traditional of ritual stones found throughout South America, positioned to align directly with the sun during the winter solstice. Its name was once again likely coined by Bingham, originates from the Quechua Inti, meaning sun, Huata, signifying to tie or hitch up, and the suffix na, indicating tools or places. Therefore, the name Inti Huatana translates to the hitching post of the sun. Pretty cool, right? According to Inca beliefs, this stone served to anchor the sun along its annual path in the sky. The stone holds particular significance during specific times of the year. Around midday on the 11th of November and 30th of January, the sun aligns almost perfectly with the pillar, resulting in no shadows cast at all. On the 21st of June, during the winter solstice, the stone casts its longest shadow on the southern side, while on 21st of December, during the summer solstice, a much shorter shadow appears on its northern side. Well, back to our modern era. In 1981, the Peruvian government designated an area of 325 square kilometers, it's about 125 square miles, surrounding Machu Picchu as a historic sanctuary. This protected area encompasses not only the ruins themselves, but also a significant portion of the surrounding region, which boasts many diverse varieties of flora and fauna from the Peruvian Yungas and central Andean wet Puna ecoregions. Apart from its historical importance, Machu Picchu now serves as a habitat for a wide range of species. Among them are the Andean fox, puma, vizcacha, spectacled bear, and the white-tailed deer. The sanctuary is also home to over 400 bird species, including notable ones like the Andean condor and the humorously named cock of the rock. The surrounding landscape showcases tree species such as alder, white cedar, husk, and laurel. In 1983, UNESCO recognized Machu Picchu as a World Heritage Site. They described it as an absolute masterpiece of architecture and a unique testimony to the Inca civilization. Well, thank you for joining me today. Before I go, I'm going to give a shout out to my Mega Chad patron, Stark Factory. Thank you very much for your contribution. And thank you, listener, for making it this far. If you have made it this far, no doubt you enjoy the content. So why not get more of it? Click the subscribe button and say hello down there in the comments. It's always good to see the new faces come in. But until next time, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Good night, everyone.